Hi everyone, welcome back to CrochetRocks. It's Tracy here, and this is a video that it's been about a year in the making, because last year we squished up some yarn to put into storage, and somebody asked what it would be like if it was long-term squashed up, because you know some people squash it to post it off, etc. But if you kept it flat like this for a long time, what would it come out like? So just before I went on holiday recently, or away for a few days, I got some out of storage and unsealed it, and we had a look at it on one of my morning rocks chats, and it has this kind of squashed vibe going on. It puffs out, so it has puffed out, but you can tell that it has been squished, and I guess you can tell because this one hasn't. Now, I do feel that these are obviously different dye lots, because some of it is a little bit more, that was squashed was a bit more brighter, like this one. But I feel like this one was possibly like an earlier dye lot that wasn't quite as bright. So I don't think that's had an impact, like the squashing of it has had an impact on the colour at all, because this one is brighter, a little bit more like the one that I've got on the left, which hasn't been squashed in any way. Now I'm just going to pause it for a second while I get another ball that I haven't started on. Okay, so this one is a complete ball, where the one this one here, I have actually used it. So this is what it would look like off the shelf, and this is the squashed one. Now they're very similar in colour, so I thought I'd show them side by side. And as you can see that this one has kind of like marks on it where it has been squashed in that position, and although it's filled out, it's still got that kind of marks from where it was squashed in, and you can see it does look a lot smaller in the ball. So I'm going to put that one aside, and we're going to undo another. So that is harder to see, I think, on the bright colours, because it is so variegated, but it's much easier to see what I'm talking about with these yarns. So when you first get them out, let's move that over there. This is kind of how it looks, and it does eventually puff out. But see what I mean about this, how it's got this kind of, looks like it's been pressed. If you can imagine it being ironed, and having these permanent creases where it's been ironed. So it does kind of puff out and is usable, but I just feel like the strands, whereas they were puffy and more vibrant, like this is the one that I've been working on, and there's the strand of that, and where's the one that I was using? Obviously they are different, slightly different in the colours. So if you put the strands side by side, you can see it's just a little bit puffier, this one here. Not a massive amount in it, but the proof of it is in the working with it. So this is the one that I was first of all working with, and this is the one that I did a swatch of, one that had not been squashed. So let's put them on different sides for a second and move these out of the way. But as you can see, these have not really puffed up that well. I mean, you can kind of move them about, but they don't look they don't look at all well, do they? If you see what I mean. That's kind of as good as it kind of gets. Now I think it doesn't look quite as bad when you see it on the variegated yarn. But anyway, I did work with it. Now, while I was on my trip away, on the big journey there, I decided that I would use some of the yarn and see how it worked up. So I knew I needed a couple of phone socks, and so this is the one that's on my channel already as a tutorial, and I lost all my phone socks, so it does actually work up quite nicely. The phone does fit in it, but I've got a rubber case on the back, so that stops it from slotting in very easily. So it worked up okay. It didn't feel weird working with it, I must say. I made another one, which I did slightly differently. It does look smaller, but it does actually stretch out. So it's not for this phone, it's for the one that I'm using to record on. So it's not quite, it's a bit not as tall. This is just a giant phone. But yeah, so I did work up a couple of things and they worked up okay. So first of all, this is the swatch made with the squashed yarn. And for the phone socks, I used a 5mm crochet hook and it was fine. But they are front post stitches, and these are front and back post stitches, making it rib. So this rib is just all front post. This is front and back. And so I used a 5mm crochet hook. But for the swatch, I just felt like it seemed like it was, whereas it's a DK weight and it's not the fattest DK in the world, it was more like using a 4-ply, which is a sport weight. So we used a 4.5mm, which I sometimes use for small DKs anyway. But you can see it doesn't look as chunky as this. So again, use this same hook with the yarn that has not been squashed, and you can see quite a large difference, I think. Obviously there are more stitches in this one, but I did the same amount of rows. And I don't know, this just feels thinner, like there's more, you can see more through it. Oh, it just doesn't seem so puffy. This definitely feels a little bit like it's suffered from being squashed long term. You can use it. I don't know what it would be like once you wash this, if it would puff up again. I was going to make another swatch and do that, but we've had so many interruptions this last few days that I haven't had chance to. But I know the colour is different, but this is like I say, an earlier ball where the dye lot was different. But I just feel like it wasn't so easy to work with. These are half treble crochets, which in the US is a half double. The same stitch, but it just seems more substantial. I've used a 4.5mm crochet hook for both, but this does feel rougher as well for some reason. This feels puffier, like it's more spongy, if you like, that there's more denseness in the actual stitch, and the yarn's got more fibre to it, whereas this does feel thinner and more squashed, I suppose. So yeah, squashing the yarn, I do feel is a short-term thing. If you're making something for yourself and you don't mind the fact that it's going to look a little bit like this, it might work up and wash up okay, but it does feel like the substance has come out of this. I know these fibres are not usually as thin as this. On this particular yarn, it is quite, well, this would be thinner normally. When I see these side by side, I find Poundland yarn has quite a substantial size in the thickness of the yarn. It really doesn't look like it is anymore. So, you know, I don't think squashing it for long term is really viable. If you're, you know, keeping it flat to send it somewhere and they're going to open it the other end, or if it's in there for a short term, I think it's fine. I've had some that has arrived that way when I've ordered it. Not from companies so much, but if I've ordered something from eBay or Amazon and they've sent it to me that way, it's not suffered for it. If it's going to be open straight away the other end. But this has been kind of squashed for about a year. It was an experiment that was going to be a long-term experiment, and I have to say, it hasn't really done it any favours. I might try and make something and wash it just to see what it comes up like. But now that those fibres are crushed like that, I can't see them coming back. But maybe the next video that I do will be part 2, and we'll see what it looks like once it's been washed afterwards. So that's the squashing of yarn. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, everyone. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.